Right, so we're going to continue with breast. And so what I want to cover now is the 3/4 view, since that's kind of what we left off talking about. This here is the view of a woman you're going to be drawing mostly whenever you're doing any type of drawing. And so you want to get used to doing this, because this is usually, like pretty much any pose, the torso is going to be facing in this direction. So it's good to get used to drawing it. Again, that same heart shape, you can just start with that same heart shape as before, but it does slightly change this time around, but just very, very slightly, it's still there. Remember that this breast is going to be pretty much from the side view, and that the nipple would be like there, let's say, slightly facing up. It's not facing directly out, so it'd be kind of like that. This breast here is almost facing us from a front view, and because of that, the nipple would be placed. Remember, the nipple has to be even with that. So let's say somewhere around there. And actually, that's not quite right, so I'm just going to move it. Because the angle kind of bounced down a little bit, the angle will slightly change it. So it's important to remember, when this angle here, to learn the shapes of the breast. Notice it's kind of like upside down U. You don't draw circles. Breasts are never just circles, unless they're like totally fake and from a front view, but even then it doesn't just look like circles. Now, another thing to cover is cleavage, which looks like this. When a woman wears a push-up bra or something that pushes the breast up. And one of the good ways to do breast mechanics or breast physics is to fill up a good size balloon, get good size balloons, and fill them up with water to where they're not all the way full. So you need nice big balloons. That way when you fill it up with water, they're still like nice and jiggly and squishy. They're not hard. And that will pretty much mimic a breast. And if you get non-glossy balloons, or the least glossy you can, and like skin color or something, it's really good for practicing shading, lighting, and how use one light source, like a good flashlight or something, or just a good lamp, and make one light source on the balloon and smash it in different ways, and you can see like how the lighting would work, and it's pretty realistic. So from that front view, the cleavage is basically, you want to remember a Y shape. That's pretty much what happens to the breast, because the breast, it's kind of like the same thing as if you take your hand and press your hand over breast and kind of smash the breast in. All the breast kind of gets smashed out into almost like a circle, right? Same thing when a girl lays down on like a table or something, which we'll show in just a second. So let's imagine she has something on here, and underneath that is a push-up bra, and so you get that shape there. And then depending on how it's shaded, this isn't a shading tutorial. I'm not showing lighting or anything. Something like so. And you always have the darker shading in there. Right, so anyway, that's push-up bra 101. Her breast would actually, I should actually made him a little bit bigger, but anyway, I didn't feel like it, because I already had done that. Then that would actually come in like that, so whatever. And I don't want to spend too much time on that. So that's the closest they get to looking round is with the push-up bra, but even then, oops, sorry, my mic just fell down. Even then, they're not perfectly round. They're still more U-shaped. Now, when a girl's laying down, and especially if she has large breast, if she has small, remember when a girl bends over at all, let's say she's just bending over, the breast, gravity pulls a breast down naturally, and so it kind of gets shaped like this because all the weight gets pulled down into here, and so now you no longer have, you have this way more of a U shape here. No matter how big their breast is, gravity is going to affect it and pull it down like this. So this is a decent sized breast, like size C. Now if they have completely fake breasts, well, gravity doesn't play as much of a role. If they have silicone breast, then gravity is not so much of a factor, And so they might actually still kind of have breasts like that even when they're down. But someone that has natural breasts and they're really large, and you can always tell, you know, someone with real breast when they bend over usually. But they're going to be shaped kind of like that, and the nipple placement is, you know, somewhere around there. Okay, so that's if they're just bending over and gravity's taking over and pulling them down. And of course, if they have small breasts, you know, it's going to be something like so. Now, what if they're like laying down and they have, let's say, right here is like a table or something that's gonna smash their breast. This part of the breast is going to be like that, but this part of the breast is going to be pushed out, like so. And a good way to do this is, again, take a balloon and then smash it against the table, and you're going to see what I mean. Part of the breast might come out from the table like that, so you might have just barely a little bit of a curve there. And then you wouldn't see the table, of course. And the lighting, let's say I have all this gray just for a second, just so I can show you what I mean. You know, let's say the lighting's hitting it kind of like a balloon. You'd have some of the lighting hitting like that. Oops, that's too much. Okay, so something like that, and then you'd have, you know, some darker part and stuff, but it's good to look at. So that's pretty much what will happen. At times, I guess if the breast is really, really large and they're kind of squished straight down, but usually when they lay down like this, they're going to kind of lay down at this angle. And so that's going to kind of push the breast up this way, and that's why it's shaped like that. But if they lay down at that angle, right, where they went pushed that way, then the breast would be pushed back this way. All this would be shifted back that way because their weight's up that way. And so then let's say we're looking at that same part here. And so they shifted a different way, pushing, you know, the breast the opposite way. Then you'd have just a little bit of it. It'd pretty much just be the opposite of what you're looking at there, you know, like that. And if they went straight down and they have really, really big breasts, you might get something that's kind of like this. And then you have the light like that, light like that. Okay, so the dark line's actually the light. Okay, so we're making progress. We're learning all about boobs. This is important, you know, because you're going to be drawing, composing and stuff, and sometimes it's really hard to find a photo reference for the, you know, the drawing you're doing, and like, oh man, how's the breast going to look, you know? Right, so I'm going to go back to this one here. Okay, that layer. And it's also just good in general just to know breast, you know, the basic of breast, so you made them look realistic, so your drawings, you know, maybe people make fun of your breasts in your drawings, or they make comments and you're like, I don't get it, what's wrong with my breast? And so knowing the basics will help you get around that. Now I'm going to show what it's like if you have a shirt on. Get rid of a lot of those lines we're not going to need. And let's say she has a tight shirt without any bra. So let's say the shirt kind of is shaped like this. So you won't be able to see any of the cleavage. And then you have the outline of the shirt, and you'll be able to see just a little lump. I exaggerate that too much because I'm gonna use a smaller brush, size 3 instead. Just a slight lump like that. This is like cold outside, I guess. Let's say it's a short sleeve like that. And so you'd only see certain you know, lines, like pretty much where the breast is at, you'll kind of see a line like that, and then another line right here, and depending on the shading, you know, like that part would be shaded. You might have a line like this, a little bit of shading darker in there because it's kind of going in, because remember the breast has this indent right here, and so you can kind of show that indent, you know, by the way you draw those lines. Sometimes that line's straight across it because the shirt's being stretched, and so you don't see the indent, even though there's an indent there. We don't see it because the shirt's being stretched straight across. Oh, I'm out of time, looks like, so please rate, subscribe. Appreciate it. You don't have to, though, obviously. Let's see, hold on. No, I don't have enough time. I was going to get rid of that line, but whatever.